The Beavers had a dogfight on their hands in Seattle. A week after getting lit up in the desert, the Husky defense was playing for pride and pushed OSU to the brink. The Ducks keep rolling and roll right over the Buffs. Oregon lights up the scoreboard as D'Anthony, Kenyon, and the rest of the Ducks got a final tune-up for USC. In Tucson, a Pac-12 record falls in a major way as the Trojans and Wildcats go back and forth. In the end, it was a prayer that went unanswered for USC. In Palo Alto, the Cardinals served up a sack lunch for the Cougs as Stanford survived a pesky Washington State squad. In Tempe, it was a happy homecoming for a native of the Valley of the Sun as Brett Hundley and the Bruins pull a rabbit out of the hat. The Pac-12 season keeps rolling right along, and so do we on this edition of Inside the Pac. Oregon State's dreams of an undefeated season are dashed in the rain in Seattle, and so is any thought of a Civil War battle between two undefeated teams. Hello and welcome to Inside the Pac. I am Tom Ward. He is Nick Krupke. And this week, making his ITP debut, former Oregon defensive end Saul Patu. Saul, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. And the Ducks now look like they're rounding into shape now at 8-0, just in time for that SC game, the one we've all been waiting for, as they dominated Colorado.
You know, it's going to be tough for SC. Oregon comes out and, they just look really comfortable out there. And I just love, when you're playing comfortable and you don't have to think too much, it's hard to beat.
Well, certainly that's the thing, and we're going to talk about this more as we go along in this show. But they came out against Colorado, and it was almost like they knew that this team can't hang with them.
Yeah, they're flying high now. So, they're a really fast team, one of the fastest, if not the fastest in the country, on both sides. And so, when you're playing with that kind of confidence, it's a little bit intimidating, especially when Colorado popped open that film to watch before they came up here.
Well, we will talk more about the game next week at the Coliseum as we go along here. Nick, in Seattle, Oregon State now in a little bit of a pickle here. Sean Mannion did not look good against the Huskies, and frankly, that Washington defense rose to the occasion against the Beavers.
They certainly did. Kind of read the press clippings from down there as well. Being called soft. They didn't certainly look like that. What do you do at quarterback? Mannion now another 4 picks before he got yanked for Vaz. His last 2 games before he injured his knee against Washington State, 3 picks as well. So now 8 touchdowns to 8 interceptions for Sean Mannion. Not very good, but again, you're 6-1, so not all is lost for Oregon State. It's so hard to even kind of venture out to think you're going to go undefeated. Nice to think about, but that doesn't often happen. Now you got 3 of the next 4 at home, though. And
we've talked for weeks now about how the Beavers win the turnover battle, win the game. Well, that was just the opposite in this one. Lost the turnover battle, lost the game, but now return home for homecoming. But so far this season, the Beavers had been proving the doubters wrong big time. OSU had gone to the Rose Bowl, to Tucson, and to Provo, and come out with road wins every time on their way to that 6-0 start. Could they do it again Saturday night in Seattle? Cornerback Jordan Boyer playing with a soft cast on that right hand. Meanwhile, the Husky defense trying to put that 52-17 drubbing at the hands of Arizona behind them. And Sean Mannion back from that knee surgery after missing just 2 games. Second quarter, Mannion finds Marcus Wheaton, but Sean Parker delivers with the interception in the end zone. And the Huskies take over, a harbinger of things to come for Mannion. Meanwhile, Mannion to Wheaton, and he gets knocked cold by Parker. The deflected ball intercepted by Justin Glenn, no flag thrown, but certainly was helmet-to-helmet contact. Wheaton, the team's leading receiver, was done for the night. So we go to 4th and goal from the 1.5-yard line, and a quick hike for the Huskies, and they get it in there. As Bishop Sankey takes it in for the game's first score, 10-0 Washington at the half. To the third, Mannion had a rough night, but delivers here to Brandon Cooks. Cooks turns it upfield and makes up for an earlier drop, 54 yards up the sideline. Oregon State back in it at 10-7. Later in the third, the Beavers need a big play on 3rd down, and Mannion provides one again. Slings it deep for Richard Mullaney, and the redshirt freshman from Thousand Oaks hauls it in. 45-yard gain led to a field goal. We're tied at 10. to the fourth. Mannion still shaking off the rust, throws behind Mullaney. Picked off by Marcus Peters, one of 4 INTs on the night for Mannion, and it led to this. Bishop Sankey again for the 1-yard score. Huskies back on top at 17-10. Meanwhile, Mike Riley had seen enough of Mannion, so in comes Cody Vaz. He won the 2 games in Mannion's absence, recapturing some of that BYU magic right here. 29 yards to Connor Hamlet as he pulls it in for the score. Tie game at 17. The Huskies then set up Travis Coons for the go-ahead 30-yard field goal, makes it 20-17. So a minute 20 to work with for the Beavers, and Vaz down to 4th and 19 at the 47 as he comes in trying to work his magic late in the game over the middle, maybe looking for a PI call, but no such luck as the Beavers suffer their first loss of the year, 20-17. Washington with its second top 10 win at home on the season. Mannion finished 18 of 34, 221 yards, the 1 score, and 4 picks.
And taking over the final 2 drives of the game, Vaz 7 of 11 for 97 yards and the 1 score there. Cooks led the way receiving with 123 yards on 9 receptions. Cooks made that big play on the touchdown in the 3rd quarter, but it was the lack of execution offensively for Oregon State that ultimately was their downfall in Seattle. Got to look at some of these squandered opportunities, especially early. 1st quarter, 2nd drive. This would have been a first down to Wheaton, but he couldn't quite hang on. Great coverage again, though, all night by Washington. Beavers there later had to punt. 2nd quarter, backed up here now against their own end zone. Obum Watchum, who really had to step up without Wheaton in there. Couldn't haul it in. Would have moved the sticks. Instead, it's a punt again. Last drive of the half, trying to look to convert on 4th down. Eventually, this was on 3rd. Cooks wide open, but a wobbly pass from Mannion. He had room to run as well. They were out of field goal range, got nothing before the half. Even when things started going right in the 3rd quarter, Mannion over the middle to Colby Prince. May have been a touchdown. Instead, it was not. Turned into a field goal. And then the 3rd INT by Mannion, who just looked real disastrous on a few of these throws. This being one of them, picked off a return by John Timu. Looked like a touchdown, recovered in the end zone. It was not, called back on a personal foul. What do you do now at quarterback, where you were watching the game after that 3rd pick, Tom, and we thought, we were back in the office thinking, like, man, when do we bring Cody Vaz into this football game? And then he throws the next one, the 4th bad interception there, and then they finally get Vaz in there, maybe a little bit too little too late in that situation. And people say you rush Sean back. Well, maybe, maybe not. He was cleared by doctors the previous Thursday to play, and by all accounts, he was ready. But being up there on Monday when Mike Riley first made that decision that they're going back with Mannion, Vaz certainly disappointed, but I think he can be the guy to lead the Beavers to more victories on the road. But I'm not saying that's the way.
Certainly, you've got 2 guys that have the capability to win a game here. Okay, at some point when you're 3 interceptions down, you have to make the decision that, hey, maybe Sean isn't all the way back, maybe he's rusty, whatever the case may be. Cody's shown he can do the job, and I think Mike Riley would probably admit he maybe waited 1 interception too long to make that decision. But let's get to Oregon now, and ranked number 2 in the polls, but number 4 in the rankings that matter most, the BCS. The unbeaten Ducks have a chance to earn more respect with their backloaded schedule in the month of November. But first, that 1 win over the Colorado Buffaloes. Homecoming for the Ducks brought back some recent grads, members of the team with the best record in the NFL, the Houston Texans, Eddie Pleasant and Jeff Mayle. Also Ed Dixon of the Baltimore Ravens and Dennis Dixon, who's on the Ravens practice squad. Just like a week earlier in Tempe, the Ducks lit up the scoreboard early and often. Kenyon Barner boosting that Heisman campaign, such as it is. 42-yard gain on the opening possession, 9 rushes for 104 yards on the day for Barner. 2 plays later, Kenyon finds the end zone for the first of his 2 touchdowns, make it 7-0 Oregon. 5-play, 57-yard drive in a minute, 47 seconds. After a Colorado fumble on the kickoff, D'Anthony Thomas got in for a quick 6. 19-yard touch, just his 2nd in Pac-12 play for the Quack Mamba. 14-0 before the Buffs offense ever took the field. Then Mariota snuck in another one, breaking the plane before the ball comes loose. 5-yard run, make it 21-0. 4th drive, 4th score. Mariota on the move to the freshman Braylon Addison. He makes a couple of moves, 16-yard TD, 28-0 at the end of 1. And then another burner from Barner. Number 24 takes it in from 24 yards out. His league-leading 14th score of the year as Oregon racked up 425 yards rushing. Teams have been warned, do not punt the ball to DAT, but maybe the Buffs forgot on this occasion.
Thomas is going to let it bounce. Thomas will take it. Thomas turns 20, eludes a tackler, bouncing out left side. Can he get to the edge? Has tacklers ahead, shakes right, moves left near edge, breaks 30, tiptoes 40, across midfield, still turning 30, to the 20. Here he comes. Black Mamba all the way home with a touchdown, Oregon.
Kevin Calabro on the call, 73-yard return for DeAnthony. And from there, Mariota went back to the air to the former quarterback, Darrell Hawkins. 7 yards, makes it 49-0. Marcus, 10 of 14 passing. And then in comes Brian Bennett, the first of his 3 rushing scores, 617 total yards for the Ducks. And one of these days, these starters will need to play a full 4 quarters, but it was not on this day. 56-0 at the half. 70-14 the final. Conference scoring records for the Ducks. The previous high was 65 back in that 08 Civil War. Barner, 104 of the Ducks, 425 yards rushing. Thomas with another 97.
Yeah, nearly 12 yards per carry for Barner, more than 19 per clip for Dat, but the big number, 8-0 now, into the month of November now with 3 of the final 4 games on the road beginning Saturday, 4 o'clock at the LA Coliseum.
Well, Saul, there's not much rocket science involved in this victory. It really comes down to Oregon's size, speed, and strength against the Buffs, doesn't it?
Well, you know, it makes it easy when you got your big guys out there and they're blocking out, leading the way. You know, every one of those plays that we're just seeing, I mean, you look at what sprung it, and it was a big guy getting out, executing their blocks. And you know, those runners, I mean, they don't teach them how to run. They just show them what area to run in, and they do what they do.
And we see on the special teams, if you make a mistake, Oregon's so fast they're just on top of you, like Avery Patterson right there.
Absolutely.
And then we see here the pulling Bronis Grasu takes out 2 guys, and that frees up DeAnthony, 44-yard gain.
They work up great. Right here, he works first level. Guy, second level, knocks out two defenders, and I mean, when you got guys blocking like that, executing their blocks, I mean, those guys can run all day.
And then this is Brian Bennett. The Buffs know all about Brian Bennett from last year in Boulder. Once again, the great blocking scheme frees him up.
Beautiful blocks up front. I mean, as a former defensive player, I mean, that's the last thing you want to get is make sure a guy gets a half a shade ahead of you. And if that's the case, your reach is pretty much a done deal. You just got to fight out of it. But those guys are so fast, they're outrunning the angles.
Okay, now the big question here, because we've seen most of this season, nobody has the overall speed to match up with the Ducks. It appears at times USC does. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, SC is, you know, I mean, it's the Pac-12. So, I mean, you got in-conference games, and everyone's going to come to play, ready to play every week. And so these guys, I think they're at the top of their game, and they're like I said, they're flying high earlier. And I don't see them slowing down. I mean, they got great depth. If they can stay healthy and continue to execute, one thing I see that they do well is they make the right decisions very fast. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of plays.
And you mentioned stay healthy, and speaking of that, Monagregg and Deion Jordan, who Deion Jordan missed the game against the Trojans last year, is kind of a gaping hole on that defense because they like to get pressure with him. Both those guys in doubt for Saturday's game, so we'll have to see as the week goes along if they are available for the game with the Trojans. But there will not be an undefeated versus undefeated matchup in the Civil War. But Oregon State still already has twice as many wins as it did 1 year ago. Still to come on Inside the Pac. We'll head back to Seattle where the Dogs had their day against the Beavers, who return home knowing they were not at the top of their game.
Scoreboard showed it, and I'm pretty disappointed with that.
Plus, the Trojans wouldn't dare look past Arizona in advance of their showdown with Oregon, would they, around the conference coming up. And as always, lots more Beavers, Ducks, and the rest of the Pac-12 online all the time at our website, InsideThePac.com. We are back after this. The Beavers suffered their first loss of the year at Washington, and now Oregon State could have a quarterback controversy on its hands. Phil Milani has more from Seattle.
Sean Mannion's return to play did not go as scripted, as the redshirt sophomore looked rusty after missing 2 games. Mannion completed just 18 of 34 passes and threw 4 interceptions. His play forced Mike Riley to make a switch at quarterback late in the 4th quarter, with the Beavers trailing by a touchdown.
It was one of those things where I thought that it would just be good for our team to put Cody in.
I support Cody and our team 100%, no matter the circumstance. I know that's their call to make. would I have liked to have played? I mean, obviously, but at the same time, I know that it's about the team and it's not about me.
To be honest, I didn't know until, it was huddle up time, and then I saw Cody in, and, it was just the same as Sean, and we had to help him make plays. We had to step up for him. He came in with confidence and poise and did what he had to do.
I don't know no football player that's perfect. You're going to have those type of games, But Sean's, I'm not worried about Sean at all. He's a great quarterback. He's going to shake that off. He's going to get in the film room. And this is his first game back. He might be a little rusty or something. But
Cody Vaz was unavailable for comment after the game, and Mike Riley said that he did not want to comment on the quarterback situation moving forward until later. But the Beavers are now left to pick up the pieces and return home to face Arizona State. In Seattle, I'm Phil Milani for Inside the Pac.
Meanwhile, Oregon's 70 points against Colorado set a Duck record for the most points in a conference game, surpassing the 65 put up in the 2008 Civil War. Still to come on ITP, the Ducks can now turn their attention to the game we've all been waiting for, Saturday against the Trojans in the Coliseum.
I feel like we've been really ready, but I feel like we still have a lot more to do and a lot more plays to make, and everyone just getting on the same page.
Oregon took care of business in dominating fashion over Colorado. The Ducks jumped on the Buffaloes and never let up in all three phases of the game. With more on Oregon's victory, here's Dirk Weishar.
Well, this one went pretty much as we expected. Number 2 Oregon totally dominating Colorado 70-14. The Ducks with 617 total offensive yards, just 245 for the Buffaloes. The Ducks got contributions from not only the offense but the defense and of course special teams, including a 73-yard punt return for a touchdown by DeAnthony Thomas.
We haven't really took anything back on special teams yet this year, so I mean it's great, and special teams really get the momentum going for our offense and defense.
Just keep it going. I mean, we started off hot, and the defense did a good job of getting some stops, and we were looking forward to just keep playing, and really Coach Kelly just said keep the foot on the gas, and until we got taken out, I think we did a good job of that.
A great week of preparation, and that's what showed up today on the field. I thought our guys right from the start really focused, understood the game plan on both sides of the ball.
Now it's the one everyone has been looking forward to all season long, as the Ducks will travel to Los Angeles to face the last team to defeat them, the USC Trojans. A 38-35 loss here at Autzen Stadium. Said senior linebacker Michael Clay of that defeat, it was a battle all the way to the end. We expect the same this Saturday. For Inside the Pac, I'm Dirk Weishar.
Well, we are just about to wrap up this edition of Inside the Pac, but when we come back, talk a little more football on the other side.
Wipe into the tees.
Saul, Ducks and Trojans. Oregon playing a little bit better than USC right now. Looks like it could be payback time.
Definitely, with them being visitors, it's going to be a tough game. It'll show the character that they have that they're going to need if they're going to go to a national championship and win it.
All right. Saul Patu, thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching Inside the Pac. We'll see you next week.